You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a successful motivational speaker and trusted life coach, Nancy knows how you can live the life you want regardless of the challenges you face. Although she's legally blind, Nancy's mission is to inspire others to overcome obstacles and live life full out. Call in at 800-333-0001 to ask Nancy for advice on topics such as relationships, finances, business, health, and more. Just call 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Show. My name is Nancy Solari, and today we're going to be talking about being taken advantage of. Nobody wants that feeling. Nobody wants to feel as though they can't trust somebody, but it does happen, and it's happened to pretty much all of us. And if it hasn't happened to you yet, listen up, because we want to make sure that you don't ever cross that bridge, that you don't have to deal with that deception. But we're also going to be taking your calls. So if you are looking to, get around a challenge in your life, if something is stressing you out, this is your time to call in. That number is 800-333-0001. Again, 800-333-0001. And after this show, if you want to hear it again, you can always go to livingfullout.com, click on the radio show tab, and all of our episodes will be waiting there for you. And most of all, we want to hear from you. If you need resources, if you feel as though you have something to say in terms of insights you got from today's show, or even if you have an inspirational story that you feel our audience would benefit from, reach out to us at connect@livingfullout.com. Again, that's connect@livingfullout.com. Also, coming up in our next segment, we're going to have Hank Estrada, who'll be talking about how he was taken advantage of by not only an uncle, but also a priest. It's really amazing how his story layers, but yet it's inspiring at the end. So stay tuned for that. We are going to go to the phone lines now and check in with one of our callers. Hello, welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for calling in. How can we help you today?
So what I was really struggling with is I'm a student at WSU, and we just got done at finals week, and it is obviously very stressful. So I was wondering, how would you handle stress better, or what advice would you give?
Well, the thing is, stress is never going to be not around us, right? I mean, every day is going to have some element of stress. It could be just sitting at a stoplight. It could be running late. It could be finals, right? But it's how do you manage that? What you want to do is you want to learn how to switch the energy in your body and what's going on, because the stress is going to come in different forms. For you, it's finals now, but it could be something else. Now, how do you switch energy? That could be taking a shower. Believe it or not, you jump in the shower, you take all those stresses with you, you wash them away, you come out more refreshed. Is your life then instantly perfect? No, but it does switch the energy. Same goes for drinking a cold or warm or room temperature glass of water, or maybe 2 glasses of water. By drinking that, again, that will change the energy. Having something that might be sweet or sour or spicy, that could switch the energy in your mouth. It's about finding ways to rejuvenate the body, even sleeping, taking a power nap. Have you tried those things to help get you through this time?
The only things I've really tried is potentially taking a power nap, but sometimes, obviously, they go a little bit further than a power nap, and it turns into like a 2-hour long.
Yeah. You don't want to fall into, there's these REMs of sleep, right? You don't want to fall into too deep of a sleep. So what you might want to do is just set your alarm. Make sure that you have an incentive to get up. So maybe don't burrito yourself inside those warm blankets, right? Make sure you're laying outside the blanket, so you have to get up, or maybe set an alarm and then have something that you have to go to, so there's a reason to get up. But all in all, if you just continue to take care of yourself, doing those things I suggested, you'll be fine. And also, don't give over your power to the stresses. Again, they're always going to be there, but you've survived. Mm-hmm. Every time a stress has happened, you're still with us today, right? They didn't get the better of you. So you always have to remember that when something seems like it's at its epic worst, you've always survived it. You've always gotten through it. So trust yourself more than anything. Okay? But thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Have a great day. And, when we talk about, being taken advantage of, sometimes we take advantage of ourselves. Don't forget that sometimes we can be victims to ourselves. We can self-sabotage ourselves. So not only can other people or an environment take advantage of us, but we can also take advantage of our own time, our own ability to be loved and get TLC that we need to get through those stressful times. Now, I got word from our producer that we have another caller on the line. We're going to go say hello to them. Hello, welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hi.
Hi, thank you for calling. How can we help you?
Well, I guess I just have a question because I'm traveling abroad by myself, and so I was wondering if you had any advice for traveling alone and just meeting new friends.
You know what? I've so been there. I was an exchange student many years ago. I went to Japan, and I remember what that felt like. The nerves of going somewhere international. It's a different language. You might know it, but will you be able to speak it fluently when you get there? But the thing is the human thread that links us all together is that we are all the same. Whether you're in a different country or our country, everybody wants to make friends. Everybody has nerves. And they're going to know, wow, they're going to look at you and go, wow, look at her. She came here. She's, traveling by herself. They're going to be in awe of you, first of all. So that's exciting. But what I would recommend is this. Take some things with you from here that they cannot get in that country. So when I went to Japan, believe it or not, I took bottles of Snapple. I took certain candies that were only within the United States that they didn't have there. So when I met somebody, I could give them that little treasure. It's kind of like a little peace offering. Here you go. And it was great. The other thing I would recommend too is contact various schools or universities out there that you can link up with, and maybe you can start to develop relationships now with certain clubs, with other groups of students that are coming from other countries. It could be the U.S., but it could be Australia, it could be anywhere, because you're all going to be in the same boat, right? So I think if you just proactively think about the different ways in which you could possibly reach out to people. Have you tried any of those?
Yeah, well, the class I'm in started a Facebook page, so.
Okay. And how many people are on that page, though?
25.
Okay. So out of that 25, one or two good friends maybe in there, right? But I would go even beyond that. So it's great that your school or your class set that up for you, but see if there's any other organizations in that area that you could connect with, because it doesn't all have to be within your school. And I think that if you are able to open your doors in that way, that's going to give you a lot more options. And are you going to be an exchange student? Or are you going to be living with a family?
I'm going to be living with other study abroad people.
Okay, great. So there you go, right there. You won't be alone. I think the biggest thing that you need to remember is if you go into this trip worried, you will be worried. If you go into this trip wondering, gosh, will I connect with anybody? These 25 people, what if we're not, what if we don't get along? What if we just don't get each other? If you think that way, it'll be that way. But if you go on that trip with excitement in your heart, knowing, gosh, I'm going to meet some really great friends from all over, that's the experience you're going to get. You will get what you create for yourself. Okay? So just have fun. Okay. Throw caution to the wind. Be open. Be open-minded, because you're going to meet people from all over. And just most of all, just embrace the experience, because I tell you, I treasure my Japan experience. And I learned Japanese, and it was awesome. So just have fun with it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for calling in. So again, right there, when we get to a crossroad in life where we have to ante up, we have to get ourselves outside of that comfort zone. Sometimes it's kind of scary, but yet it's exciting. Living full out is about living full out, being on that court, swinging. You're not going to hit the ball every time, but you're doing it. And that's what it's all about. And even when we talk about today, being betrayed or being taken advantage of, when we give our power away to another person, that's where we hit that crossroad where we're in trouble, because now we feel small. We walk on eggshells. We feel like we're a victim. But if you say to yourself, this should not have happened, and I'm not going to stand for it. I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm going to, tell that person they can't do that. I'm going to tell them I didn't approve of that. You got to be vocal for yourself. When I look at a lot of people who are victims of any sort of abuse, when you stand up for yourself and you share your story, you retain your power, you take it back. Now, our inspirational guest coming up, Hank Estrada, is a perfect example of that. Again, you don't want to miss his story. It'll be right after this segment. This is the Living Full Out Show, and I am Nancy Solari, so stay tuned. We'll be back.
Dad, this is fun. I didn't think I'd like kayaking.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, but I think it's time to head back in.
Okay. Can we come back?
Sure.
Tomorrow?
Let's check with Mom. Hey, be careful getting out of the boat.
It's a kayak, Dad.
I'm going to return the kayak. Just make sure you have everything.
Yep. Can we walk home?
How about a taxi? 233 North Maple, please.
It's a short fare from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Also, find fun activities to do like boating and biking or camping and hiking, plus much more. It's all right in your naturehood.
Best day ever.
A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
Don't you wish that getting your child to eat right, move more, and spend less time in front of a screen could be as easy as pushing a button? It might not be that simple, but you do have more power than you know. And you can maximize that power with proven strategies, tips, and tools from the National Institutes of Health's We Can, or Ways to Enhance Children's Activity and Nutrition program. We Can offers all kinds of resources, including fun recipes and activities the family can do together to show you the way to live a healthier lifestyle. We're not saying it's easy. We are saying that it can be done. Take the first step today. Call 1-866-359-3226 for a free We Can Parents Handbook. And be sure to visit the We Can website at wecan.nhlbi.nih.gov for free information too. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Today, my new dad and I shot off a rocket in the park.
Today, my new son and I failed to shoot off a rocket.
He knew exactly what to do.
It's not what I had no clue what I was doing.
We set up the rocket.
Hit ignition.
And
then nothing. Ha 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 ha. Sometimes I laugh when I'm frustrated.
Then out of nowhere, the rocket launched into the air.
The rocket did get into the air.
I've never seen anything fly so high.
And then crashed into a kite. Look out! Look out! And then the pond.
I'll never forget that day.
I'll never forget that day, even if I tried.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are. For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. A professional motivational speaker, Nancy can help you overcome obstacles and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back to the Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari, and today we're talking about being taken advantage of. And nobody wants to be taken advantage of. It's not like we seek it out, obviously, but sometimes we are preyed upon. Sometimes we are groomed. And our inspirational guest today, Hank Estrada, was groomed in such a way. He was actually assaulted by a family member as well as a priest. And you would think, oh my gosh, with all of that, just give up on life. But he didn't. And today he's happier than he's ever been. But it took him a long journey to get there. And so I'd like to welcome Hank to the show so he can share his inspirational story with us. Hello, Hank. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi.
I'm here. Thank you, Nancy.
Good
to be here.
Absolutely. It's a heavy topic we're talking about. Obviously, sexual assault, abuse, it's one that not many talk about. So I honor and respect that you stand up for yourself and that you're standing up for others to share your story. So I want to put that out there first and foremost. But
absolutely.
But why don't you take our audience back a bit? You were obviously assaulted by a family member, I believe your uncle, when you were 5 years old. And can you share with us just briefly about that in terms of your relationship with him, how it started, and how long it went on for?
Absolutely, yes. My family, we had a large family. My father had 7 brothers and 2 sisters, and one of his brothers lived with us and used to babysit all the children of the other uncles and aunts. And he had access to all the children while we were there around the house and in different some situations. I was the oldest of 5. And so I followed him around, and he was very loving, very caring, very protective. My father, on the other hand, was an alcoholic and at times would be violent, physically violent. And so I was in between those two, going from the violent father and the verbal abuse and sometimes physical abuse to the uncle who was the opposite and protector and but during those times of protecting was also grooming me to allow him to take advantage, ultimately in a sexual way.
Mm-hmm. And where was your mother this whole time?
Say that again?
And what was your mother's role in all of this? Did she know what was going on?
She was, how would I say, she was just doing the best she can. With 5 children, she wasn't working. She was always around, and she would be so overwhelmed with the younger kids that she would let Uncle take care of me and my other sibling so that she could do the best she could. So as far as that is concerned, physically, she was not able to be protective of all of us at the same time. So she gave that responsibility to Uncle. Even though later I found out she had her sense of her. I think parents know that there's something wrong. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, she knew there was something wrong with Uncle, and
mm-hmm.
But I think she had no choice.
At what age did you know that it wasn't right, that it wasn't common? Did you know it right away, or did you wonder, does everybody's uncles do this?
No, I'd say right away I kind of knew because my parents, my father in particular, with his brothers, they were always talking about things of other people they knew, their coworkers, and things that were not right. And once in a while, a sexual molestation, a situation or a confrontation or an assault would come up in the conversation of somebody else, and they would just, talk among themselves on how could anybody do that, and it just doesn't make sense, and it's wrong, and they're going to hell, and all this sort of thing. So.
Now, how long did this sexual abuse go on for?
Went from the age of 5 till I was 16 years old. an adolescent.
And it's interesting because from 5 years old, your children are people pleasers. They don't want to get in trouble. They just kind of follow the land of, the rules. That follow the.
That's right.
Don't want to, cause waves or anything. But at 16, you're, from 13 to 16, you would have been growing into being a young man. And did you feel like you still could not stand up to your uncle?
Yes, absolutely. Again, I was, being the oldest, I was also now at that age, very young, I started at 12, 13, also charged with taking care of my younger siblings and having that responsibility. So that became that was an impact on me, so that I couldn't rock the boat, so to speak, as far as expose or tell my family, my parents, about my uncle and what was going on. I was protecting him because I knew my father would kill him if he knew. At least I thought in my mind he would kill him, and that would destroy the whole dynamic of who's caring for who and who's protecting who, that sort of thing. So no, I knew all the way up to that point that this wasn't right. But I felt I had no choice. Now,
were you thriving, or were you kind of playing small because obviously this had been so traumatic to you? A lot of times, people, kids, adults who have been abused, you can see signs in them that this is not, that they're being, taken advantage of. Were there signs in you that people would have seen?
In me or my uncle?
No, in you. Is there signs?
Oh, in me.
Yeah.
Not really. I learned very, very young to put on a positive face and a happy face and all that, and to act like everything was normal, because that was the dysfunctionalness that I grew up in. I learned it from my father, I learned it from my uncle, my mother. The way to ignore these terrible situations is to just pretend to the rest of the neighbors and the extended family that, your life goes on and you're doing fine. You've got a roof over your head, like they used to say, you got food on the table, and you've got clothes on your body, and you're going to school. What more do you need? So no, I played along with that for the longest time, and then ultimately at 16, some of that came into an issue where I couldn't do it anymore.
What was the breaking point? What finally happened at 16 that made it stop?
The breaking point was during adolescence, dealing with my own sexuality, of thinking whether or not I was gay, which a lot of men do, boys do, and they fear that, who have been assaulted. But then actually, if you are gay and you know at a young age, or suspected yourself, as I did, it was very confusing. Then being exposed to religion, in the case Catholicism, which was an evil
Hank,
state to be in.
Hank, we're gonna have to pause. We're gonna have to pause there.
I couldn't live with this anymore. I had mixed feelings about myself, my uncle, the sex.
So Hank, stay with us, everybody. We're gonna have to take a commercial break, and we're gonna come right back to this. Hank, I'm sorry you couldn't hear me there, but we're gonna be coming right back after this break and sharing more of Hank's story. This is the Living Full Out Show. I'm Nancy Solari. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari.
There are many sounds in your day-to-day life. There are sounds that wake you up. Sounds that make you smile. Sounds that energize you. And sounds that help you relax. But there are some sounds that can alert you to danger and can help save lives. Wireless emergency alerts, now on many mobile devices, use a unique sound and vibration to bring you information about severe weather events, Amber Alerts, or other emergencies in your area. With critical information from local sources you know and trust, you can be in the know, wherever you are. For more information, visit ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets. With millions of YouTube views, shares, Instagram likes, followers, and fans across the globe. But what do all these amazing pets have in common? Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a shelter or adoptable pets near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard? Well, that's entirely up to you. Visit theshelterpetproject.org and hear more about Hamilton the Pug, Toast, and Keyboard Cat's amazing adoption stories. Start a story. Adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Your perfect pet is just a click away at theshelterpetproject.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
What if I could tell you that a full-blown wildfire was going to occur tomorrow right where you live? Tell you exactly which neighborhoods it would engulf and how fast it would do it. The first thing you would do is talk with your loved ones and make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a wildfire will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you make a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a trusted life coach, Nancy will help you overcome setbacks and embrace all life has to offer. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Thank you for joining us today. I am Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. Today we're talking about being taken advantage of, and we're in the middle of our inspirational guest interview with Hank Estrada, and he's sharing with us about how he was sexually assaulted by his uncle, as well as a priest, which we're going to be getting into shortly here. So I'd very much like to welcome Hank back to the show. Hi, Hank.
Hi, thank you.
Hi. Hey, so in the last segment, you were sharing with us about how you had been obviously abused sexually by your uncle. And at the same time, you were trying to figure out your own sexuality in terms of, you know, were you gay, were you not? And you kind of came to this crossroad at 16 where you kind of had it. You were done. And what did you decide to do after 16 to get yourself out of that environment? Out of that cycle of abuse?
Well, I was so desperate, I attempted suicide, which was clearly unsuccessful. And I knew at that point that I had to find my own source of healing and get myself corrected and fixed, as I was thinking at the time. So I did my own search for, I called 800 hotline numbers, you know, suicide hotline or or trauma hotlines, and I found a resource locally that sent me to a free clinic for the first time I'd ever attempted counseling. And that was the start when I knew no one was going to do anything for me. No one was going to change it but me. So I took the responsibility and started that process of talking about it and going to counselors and healing, that sort of way.
You know, and that's so important. I'm glad that you shared with our community that you did reach out to those 800 numbers because they're valuable. I mean, people do care. I want everybody to hear that today. You're not alone if you're going through abuse. It's just a matter of telling someone and getting it out of your body and you know, actually speaking your truth and what happened. Now, share with us how you decided to go into the priesthood. What was that change for you? Why were you choosing to do that at 18?
Well, being raised a Catholic, I thought at the moment that I was unsuccessful for the suicide, I thought, well, there must be a reason for my not being able to do this. And the only thing I could think of as a Catholic was God had some reason for me to be here, to remain on earth. So I needed to pursue that. And as a Catholic, the highest way you can do that with your life is to give it back to the church. And there was the priesthood. So I started to pursue that, and I started counseling with a priest at my parish, and he encouraged me to speak to ask around and ask questions and go visit seminaries, and I did all that and ultimately decided on one and joined right after high school.
Well, the interesting thing about making that transition is obviously you'd be giving up intimate relationships by becoming
Correct.
a priest. Now, was that freeing to you, having been assaulted sexually by your uncle? Was that freeing for you and all the confusion of being gay or not?
On many levels it was, and it was subconscious for the most part. I just thought I was doing something wonderful with my life and giving it to the church and becoming a priest and helping other people, and I put myself and my thoughts and feelings aside. And fortunately, we had to commit to start practicing a life of celibacy. So sexuality and all that was not an issue anymore. So that was a temporary distraction, but ultimately it came back because it was never really addressed as an adult.
Right. So here you are now going into your adulthood. You're around 21 years of age, and I hate to say it, but again, you were preyed upon. You were groomed by a priest. Can you share with us about your relationship with him and how that started?
Sure. That happened one summer. Every summer, the students, seminarians, were sent off to different parishes around in the United States that needed help, and he was assigned, or I was assigned to him. He was my director, spiritual director, as well as my director of ministry that I was going to be learning. And in the course of that, he also did similar things as my uncle as far as grooming, where he would be always giving me compliments about my look or my work or how I helped a person out or a situation, just really building me up that way. And then ultimately started paying more attention and taking me out to dinners and movies and just recreation and swimming, and ultimately it led to not confrontation, what do you call it? A seduction. He tried to hold me in this lake we were swimming, and it just started from there. I could feel he was excited, and then that turned on these old feelings in myself. So it just started again there.
And that's got to be interesting for you, because there was this freeing time that you didn't have to confront your sexuality. You didn't have to be intimate with anyone going into the priesthood. And then here you were being seduced by a priest. But yet, did you like it?
I did, because it wasn't violent. It wasn't, forced. It was all very seductive and very groomed. And so it was a totally different change, to the point that I felt this person, he was a priest. He was supposed to be the example to me and the leader. So if it was all right with him, then I guess I could be all right with it too. So that opened up a whole other area of reconsideration of my sexuality, and that it was okay, but it wasn't.
Did you go through any times where you were like, why me? Why me twice? Have I been preyed upon? Why what is it about me that my uncle and this priest, did you ever go through that mindset? Because I know a lot of times we all go through that depending on our circumstances.
Right. Not at the time, because I thought this was reciprocal. And we were two adults. It was mutual what we were doing.
Okay.
And it wasn't until after the relationship broke down, and we separated that I had some of that thinking. Why did I let this happen? How did I let it happen? And why did I fall for it? So there was a little bit of that.
So you clearly decided to leave the priesthood and not pursue that, and you found yourself in Los Angeles, and everybody, here he is on this journey, right? He had a plan. The plan didn't go so well. Didn't go to plan. So now you're in LA and you're trying to figure out who you are as a man, who you are sexually, and you met 3 people that really changed your life. And who were they, and in what way?
I did. At that point, I was comfortable with my sexuality, knowing that I was gay and attracted to men, and but I didn't know how to find a relationship, which I thought this priest was the start of one. I thought in my mind, and some of that was nice, and so I wanted to find it again. So I would look at Los Angeles' trade papers and magazines that have classified ads for people to meet, gay men to meet. And I answered one of those, because the other 2 were just friends in a working relationship. But they all ultimately were very instrumental in supporting me. There was no physical, sexual attraction between us, so we became friends. We became confidants, and they basically took me under their wings and taught me about being a gay man in Los Angeles, in Hollywood. And so if it hadn't been for them, I don't know where I would end up, because I was such a newbie, so protected and uninformed about life, and gay life in particular. So I really, really never forget them. And one of them is alive and still in my life. The other 2 are not. And it's just such a positive, very rewarding relationship to still be in after all these years.
Well, and you kind of assumed or thought you might be gay when you were a child, because again, your uncle's relationship with you, that was confusing because it wasn't awful. It wasn't, it wasn't a tortured abuse. You didn't reciprocate it. You didn't want it, but I can see that confusion. And then with the priest, you actually, did like that. You had a quote, somewhat relationship with him for the short time it lasted. But now to finally be, again, free to be yourself and to be proud. I'm a gay man in Los Angeles, and I can say I'm gay. I get to choose my partners. How amazing was that for you?
That was tremendous, because I think ultimately, looking back on it, I think what happened is I just stopped looking. I just wanted to be myself, be happy in my work, be accomplished, be successful, be healthy in my thinking and my daily life. And in doing that, I met a man that has been my partner for almost 34 years now. But it started because we were just co-workers and became friends. And then after months and months of just working together, a friendship developed. And from that, it just blossomed into love that has lasted 34 years.
Well, it's interesting because you went from being taken advantage of to taking control of your life. And that is a true example of what it means to live full out. You are living full out every day. And if you had last bit of advice here, because we have to go here in a second, what would you say to somebody who is being sexually abused right now? What do they need to do to get out of that cycle?
They need to, first off, start talking and telling what happened to them. And, if possible, and they know who it was, name them. Because until you name them publicly to someone, you're carrying their guilt, their responsibility of what they did to you. So you're not going to really completely heal until you identify and say who that was. The second thing is to learn to forgive yourself, not the person who perpetrated. That's a whole other issue. You can do it or you don't have to do it. Some do and some don't. But forgive yourself for staying silent. By not telling others, you know, you may or may not realize, but you were not the only victim of your perpetrator.
Well, that is great advice, Hank. And unfortunately, we have to go here. I'm getting cues from my producer. But honestly, thank you so much for being on the show today. And everybody, that was Hank Estrada. And thank you for sharing your story with us. And everybody, we'll be coming right back, again, taking your calls. And we're talking about taking advantage of today. But we can get past that. Hank is a beautiful example of that. We'll be right back after this break.
Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
The following message is about Medicaid and CHIP, free or low-cost health coverage for kids and teens. Enrollment is open year-round.
Hey, voice lady, give me the mic.
Okay.
Hey, DJ, let's switch up the music. That's better. So listen up, moms and dads out there. There are these programs called Medicaid and CHIP. They offer free or low-cost health coverage for kids. Things like doctor and dentist visits, prescriptions, and shots are covered. All the stuff that keeps kids like me healthy and in charge.
So, as you can tell, a covered kid is a confident kid. And it means confident parents, too. To learn more about affordable health coverage for your family, visit healthcare.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. That's 1-877-543-7669.
Yep, you could do something big for your family today because enrollment is open year-round.
This has been a message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
And Sophia.
They're going to jump out of trees. You can't stop them. They'll go down the slide head first. They'll make parachutes out of sheets. They'll balance on things that are impossible to balance on, like the back of a couch or a windowsill or a scooter seat. They'll run with sharp objects. They'll run into walls. They'll climb things that won't hold their weight. They'll put their fingers in places where they could get smashed. They'll drive their tricycles down steep hills. They'll bounce balls off their faces. They'll step on each other. They'll jump on each other. They'll invent whole new ways to put themselves in jeopardy. But one of the most dangerous things kids will do happens while they're sitting perfectly still. Kids who ride in a car without a booster seat are much more likely to suffer serious or fatal injury during a crash than kids in boosters. But amazingly, 80% of all kids who need them aren't in them. After a toddler seat and until they're 4'9", booster kids, and don't let them down.
Go to boosterseat.gov to learn more about the importance of boosters. A message from the U.S. Department of Transportation and the Ad Council.
Hey, Nick Cannon here. So we all know we've got a lot of talent in America. But unfortunately, there's something else we've got way too much of. Childhood hunger. 17 million kids struggle with it in this country. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks gather surplus food to give hope to hungry kids and their families. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
We're your pets, and this song's dedicated to those people who don't have health insurance yet. Enroll, we say, we want you to be okay. Enroll,
Health insurance is now affordable and covers prescriptions, hospitalizations, and preventive care. Visit getcoveredamerica.org to learn more.
And take care, people.
Brought to you by Get Covered America and the Ad Council.
Being taken advantage of in life is something that we all encounter in small forms and large forms. But it's about taking your power back, knowing that you're not going to be a victim. You're not going to play small in life. You're going to go after it in a big way. We do have the ability to take control of our life and not let someone else control it for us. So it's all about getting out there, living your life full out.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a certified life coach, Nancy can help you to overcome challenges and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Okay, welcome back to the Living Full Out show. So great to be here with you. And today we are talking about being taken advantage of. And our inspirational guest today was a perfect example of how you can be taken advantage of. You can be preyed upon. You can be groomed. But then if you stay the course, if you believe in yourself, if you keep reaching and stretching and clawing your way to being free and being able to be yourself, you will get there. But the biggest thing that he shined a spotlight on that I really want to focus back on one more time here in our final segment is that you have to tell somebody, you have to share with another person what is going on. So whether it's abuse, whether somebody is jealous of you, whether they're stalking you, whether they're, talking bad about you, whatever it may be, you want to call that person out. You want to put a stop to it. And the only way that you can do that is when you bring it to the forefront, when you say their name, when you say what's going on, then again, you take the power back so you're not being controlled. You're not a victim to them. It's really important that as we finalize today's show, that you consider where in your life today might somebody be taking advantage of you? Where do you need to put your foot down and be able to tell them, stop, value me more. I'm not going to take it, and leave perhaps a toxic environment or a negative relationship. You have that ability to transition yourself to a different place, a better place. I know for me, being legally blind, I've had to trust people my whole life. I've had to trust that when I pay for something and I'm giving them money, that they're giving me the right amount of change back. That when I share with somebody that I can't see and I'm out and about, that they're not going to take me in the wrong direction, that they're not going to do something bad to me. So you have to trust people. That's the biggest thing. If you're weary, if you're concerned, if you're anxious, then you're going to allow them to victimize you. You're going to allow yourself to play small. So really important to stand up for yourself, recognize when situations are not good, and get yourself to a healthier place. Now, we're going to go back to the phone lines and talk to one of our callers. Hello, welcome to the Living Full Out show.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, thank you for calling in. What's going on today? How can we help you?
So I recently graduated from my program in business, so I just finished my undergrad, and I feel very nervous about what I should be doing with my life now. It's kind of one of those things where it's I've been in school my whole life, and now suddenly there's all this pressure to get a job because I feel like that's what people expect of me, but I'm just not even sure that that's what I want yet. So it's just kind of a feeling lost.
Well, I can appreciate that. What is it that you want to do? What did you go to school for? And if you can think of your ideal career, what is that?
So I went to school for business, and I think event planning and management.
So you want to be somewhere in management?
Yeah.
Okay. So a couple suggestions. First of all, applaud. I'm clapping for you because I love that you're not willing to settle for just a job, a job, right? You want a career. You want something that you're passionate about. And so there is value in waiting for that right opportunity. But at the same time, you have to keep yourself moving forward. So if you're not in school and you're not taking classes, then you need to start considering joining some networking groups, mingling with other people. So let's look at a couple options of things you could do. Number one is you could consider some professionals in your local area who are doing the career that you want to have. And perhaps you can take them out to get coffee, or maybe you can talk to them over the phone, or maybe even job shadow them and see the inner workings of their day. Find out from them, what was their journey? How much education? How many other jobs did they have before they had that dream job of their own? Another thing you could do is join some networking groups. Although you may not be in that profession yet, you have a degree in it, you're striving for it, and it's what we call the as-if factor. You're functioning today as if you're already in management. You might not have the company and the title officially on a business card, but you are that person. You are that manager. Okay? And then the other thing you want to consider is connecting with people on sites like LinkedIn, just trying to nourish as many relationships as you can. And I'm a firm believer in always being a student of life. So even if you're not in a university right now, you can take maybe one course at a community college. There's courses now that you can even take online or by phone. Just continually keeping that skill set strong, doing internships, you name it. But if you do all that and you keep walking forward, then you're not going to lose your momentum. It's when somebody does settle, which you're not looking to do, that they look back on their life and they're like, what happened? What happened to my dreams? Right? Yeah. So trust yourself. I actually think that although you feel lost and you're not sure what to do, I bet you're already doing what you need to be doing. Just look for that next thing. Look at what could you be better at? What skill do you need to get stronger at? And then do something to be to be strengthening yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for calling in, and we wish you the best. We'll be thinking of you. And I want to thank everybody who listened today. Our whole Living Full Out family here is dedicated to motivating you. We have Anna Lee, we have Rich, and honestly, I want you to go out there today, and I want you to not be taken advantage of by anybody, and especially even yourself. Go out there, dream big, live full out. I believe in you, and we will see you next week.